Hello and welcome to this month's edition of Ask Jonathan, where you get your chance to put your questions to me about life in the European Parliament or really whatever you want to discuss. This month's question comes from Andrew Tweddle. He says, "Hello, my name is Andrew and my question to Jonathan Arnott MEP is, has your past life, work, hobbies, etc. helped you in your role as an MEP in any way?" Well, thanks very much for that question, Andrew. And when you asked that question, my first thought was, well, in some ways, that's what UKIP are all about. We're the party that is a party of people who are real people and not just career politicians. We've done other things with our life. We're not people who've gone through this real conveyor belt of going out of university where somebody studied politics perhaps, they've gone straight into working as a researcher for an MP, they've become a local councillor, they've worked for a think tank, they've done everything that's within that sort of politics bubble, but they've never done anything outside it. That is one of the big problems in British politics at the moment, and we try to be very different in UKIP. My background is, well, certainly in terms of work, in terms of my paid job, I was a maths teacher. I'd originally gone to university at the age of 15. I got a master's degree in maths, and really, I think that's helped me in two ways. Firstly, from the teaching perspective, it helps me to put things across to the public. It helps me to find ways of explaining difficult concepts in a way that might be a little bit easier for people to understand. And I suppose that's a skill that you very much need in teaching. It's absolutely essential in teaching, and it transfers very well to a political arena. More directly, because the background is maths and numbers, I'm now working on the EU's budget and budgetary control committees. The budget committee is where they try to get as much money as possible from the British taxpayer, and the budgetary control committee is where they look back, audit it and work out why they haven't spent the money properly. And in both of those, it's easy for me really to use the experience that I've got with having a good head for figures, a good mathematical understanding, to be able to combat what the European Union is trying to do, and when you then audit what's being done, to find the right questions to ask. So that makes a big difference, I hope, and I find that I'm using those skills really on a daily basis in my role as an MEP. You also asked about hobbies. Well, there are all sorts of things that I've done as hobbies. I was a football commentator. I did hospital radio commentaries, still do very occasionally when I get the chance, but I did that for over 15 years, and I suppose one of the things that helps with it just makes me a little bit more comfortable in front of a microphone than I otherwise would be. If I've had that chance of talking, if you're commentating on a match and something goes wrong, so there's times when a player will be injured for a few minutes, and you've got to be able to fill the time, you've got to be able to talk, you've got to be able to say something that's relevant. When something unexpected happens, you need to be ready to deal with it, and that, I think, helps when you're coming to do a media interview. You ask an unexpected question and you need to find a way of answering it. My other, and probably my biggest hobby, is playing chess. I got to a stage where I was in the England under-21 squad. I've captained the Yorkshire team at one stage, and I got to a fairly decent level, candidate master. I've beaten some very, very good players, some grandmasters, some people who've played for England, but I'm not as good as them because I can't do it on a regular basis. But the skills involved with chess, I suppose for me, it's analytical, it's strategy, and it helps me to recognise what my opponents are going to do. If I'm up in debate, I think I plan out what my opponents are likely to say. I prepare for them in the same way as I prepare for a chess match, and I try to work out how I'm going to respond, what I'm trying to do, what my audience is, and basically how I'm going to win that debate. I think the skills that I've gained from chess are very much relevant. I've also written a book on chess, and actually the skills that I gained as an author I think helped me quite a bit, because one of the big roles of an MEP, particularly a UKIP MEP, because a UKIP MEP tends to become almost a figurehead for UKIP in the region in a lot of ways, I end up finding that I have to write quite a lot of articles in local newspapers, and I'm always writing something, whether it's an article, whether it's a column, whether it's a quote. And I suppose having done that, having been an author, I think that gives me a skill which transfers. So I suppose there are so many things really that I could say to answer that question, but I do really feel you're absolutely right. Things that I've done in the past have helped me as an MEP, and I wonder sometimes whether if we saw more of that in Westminster, more real people going into politics, whether we'd have a better quality of representation in Westminster as well.